Well, good morning, everyone. How many people do we have joining us virtually? Let's see here.
Quite a few online.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. It's good to see everyone here on this nice sunny Friday. Last time we met, we were hosted in by our friends and in the joint meeting with TTAC. And we did not have a quorum, I don't believe, so we have some business to do today related to the last meeting we had. So who's a first timer here today in the room? Okay, we got one for you. Well, good morning.
I'm not in the room, but I am a first timer on the call here. Joe Flaxbeard with Lamper Nearson.
Thanks, Joe. Good to see you. Welcome.
See you too.
So for new friends, what we try to do in this space is get to know each other, and so we can work well together, so we can be complementary in our efforts. We dig into a lot of things that affect us all across this region, a lot of things that are interesting, a lot of things that are helpful, a lot of things that invite us to help other people, other communities. And so that's the culture in this room, and as a committee of the Heartland 2050 initiative, and as a subcommittee of the MAPA board, we find value there. So what we always do when we start is introduce ourselves, and then I have sometimes a provocative question to just kind of break the ice a little bit. So you heard what the question today. For the folks online, if you didn't hear, the question today is who's going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday? Is part one of the question, and then part two is what beverage will you have in your hand as you consume the game, if you choose to consume the game and or beverage.
And
So-
our apologies to those online. We have a technical issue, so you're only gonna be able to see the front of the room on the camera feed, but we'll all hopefully introduce ourselves and you'll know who's speaking.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's Manny on the camera. Wave, Manny, so they can see that. Manny is the only person you'll see today.
You can act out everybody else's reactions.
Yes.
Looking good, Manny.
Okay, Manny, kick us off. Who are
Okay.
you, and then give us the information.
Hey everyone, Manny Cook, senior planner, Lamper Nearson, and for the Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs. Actually, you know who's gonna win? Kendrick Lamar. But I'll be drinking water for the most part.
Water, awesome, man. Well, as you can see, we have usually the non-rule followers don't break in until we get halfway through, but Manny's already followed the rules. He's the first one. I'm Keith Station. I work for the city of Omaha, the mayor's office, and I get to the privilege of chairing this body with the vice chair here. And I think that I was going to say the Dallas Cowboys, but they clearly haven't won the Super Bowl. I'm going to say that the Chiefs are going to win and go three. They're going to three-peat in an unprecedented way. And I think I might have a something with some carbonation in it is what I'm doing. There you go. Chris.
All right. Chris Gibbons, I'm the planning manager for the City Council Bluffs. I'll probably root for Kansas City just to see history get made. I'm a diehard Packers fan, so there's no way I'm voting for the Eagles at all. I still can't go with the 4th and 26 from 15 years ago, and I probably never will be able to do that. So,
There you go.
watching them lose will be a pleasure. And I don't know, I'll probably have blackberry ginger ale with a splash of blackberry crown oil. All right.
Very good. Stephanie Mueller, I'm Vice President of Customer Experience at MUD. It's a city, and I'll probably have a red beer.
Like little V8 in there.
Yeah, little vitamins.
Okay.
Mhm.
Noted.
Brian Lotus, I'm with City of Omaha Public Works Department. Been rooting for, I believe, the Eagles, although I don't think they're gonna win. And I'm probably gonna have a carbonated beverage with a little bourbon splashed in there, maybe, for my drink of choice.
Good day for it.
Mark Norman, I have kind of a dual role. I am the executive director of Mills County Economic Development, but then I'm also with the Greater Omaha Chamber doing site development. So following that along, I've got kind of that dual role in terms of who I'm rooting for. I'm probably going to root for Kansas City. I'm not sure they're going to win though. So I don't know if there'll be a three-peat or not. So it would be interesting. It's the old coach from the Lakers, Pat Riley. He's actually has patented or trademarked three-peat. And so they had to get permission from him to say three-peat if Kansas City wins.
Heat culture, baby.
Chief Peat, there you go, there you go.
3-pack.
Yeah, what I would like to have to drink be one thing. What I'm probably gonna have is probably just water, but that's the way it goes.
Good choice. Mark, thank you for that. Mills County, as of when? This news?
Actually, middle of October.
Okay, I didn't know that. Well,
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
kind of late.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Jeff.
Jeff Fireman, City of Blair Community Development Director. Football, be honest, I didn't remember who was playing other than Kansas City. So whoever, and I will drink whatever my son brings.
Outstanding.
We're kind of linked Papio Natural Resources District. I think Kansas City won the game. And I'll just probably have water.
Right on.
Vicki Quates Ferris, Vice President of Community Development for the Empowerment Network. And as far as who I'm rooting for Chiefs, definitely. Steelers is my best team. As far as what I'm gonna drink, whatever my sister-in-law makes, that's non-alcoholic, yeah, that day. And so, yeah, primarily water. Boring.
Kelly Jack with Sarpy County Planning, Chiefs. Well, maybe a beer, maybe a cold one. But Chiefs all the way.
That is water in it too. We got a water.
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
It's mostly water. And without water, we don't have beer.
Right.
A lot of children would say, who's your favorite team? They'd say Taylor Swift. But, yeah.
Elisa Manuel, I'm the Grants and Agreements Specialist with MAPA. I'm rooting for the Chiefs and I'll probably drink an Abita beer in honor of New Orleans.
Yeah. Good call.
Mike Helgerson, Executive Director with MAPA. I'm dodging your question. I'm a fantasy football player. I want some great individual effort. I want Saquon to go crazy. I want Mahomes to go crazy. I want Chris Jones to go crazy. I want Cooper DeJean to go crazy. I want them all. And I'll be in DC, so I'll be drinking a beer.
Any Cyclones playing in the game?
I don't think so. No, we were on track to have a bunch, but David Montgomery got hurt. Lions didn't make it.
Sorry.
Chris Meeks with OPPD. I will be rooting for my financial interests that I have to cross the bridge over into Iowa to place this afternoon after this meeting. So somewhat like Mike and dodging the question, but more in a degenerate type way. But
I've never heard a more sophisticated reference to wagering than that.
I'm wearing the company logo today. So
I like it.
I'll have to sip on a beer or something like that during the day.
I like it.
All right, Christine Stokes, Development Services Director, City of Gretna. I'm hoping for a three-peat with the Chiefs. Hoping to drink an adult beverage and actually hoping we get to see more of the game than Taylor Swift. So, yeah.
That probably. It's a nice try.
Leslie Smith, Omaha Land Bank. I'll go with majority and AG whiskey or tea.
Ashley Returner, also with the Omaha Land Bank. Per usual, I think that the city of New Orleans is gonna win, because I could never say the Chiefs are gonna do anything. I'm a Broncos fan. But my family's from New Orleans, so yeah. Tammy Cohen, Planning Director for City of Bellevue. Like Vicky, my house is Steelers fans, so, but we will root for the Chiefs because I have a 14-year-old Swiftie at home, so there's really no other option. And I'm a Diet Coke girly, so.
Thanks, Ken. You can put some of Leslie's drink in your Coke. But you don't have to. So.
Okay, Saul Lopez, MAPA, and just to keep things a little bit more balanced here in this room, I'm just gonna, I think the Eagles are gonna win. So sorry to give you those bad news, but yeah. And I think a Negro Modelo is gonna come really handy.
I'm Laura Heilman, Communications and Outreach at MAPA, and Mike and I will be in DC at a conference. So I think I might skip the game and explore the city a little bit, so.
Get this.
Good morning, all. I'm Che Barnett. I'm a fellow with Economic Recovery Corps, and I'm seated with the North 24th Street Business Improvement District, working on a couple of projects. Some are transportation related. I think I agree with Manny. Kendrick Lamar is going to be the winner. And my Super Bowl responsibility is always homemade ginger beer. So that's what I'll be doing, making and enjoying.
Oh, say more. Homemade.
We need a taste test.
Well,
Next
next
meeting.
time. It's for me, it's about a 2-day process. You boil your ginger, you let it steep overnight, just a little sugar, and it becomes what you need it to be. It's a beverage or a base, you know?
Are you listening to this?
Ginger wine, yeah.
Well, Ms. Che Barnett, welcome to the Regional Planning Advisory. Hope to see you again. You are welcome. You're among friends. Thanks for being here. Welcome. Thank you.
Scott Tom Sue, I'm with the Methodist Health System Planning. I'm also a Saints fan, so I'm a fan of New Orleans. I'm just kind of cheering for that.
Okay.
So, let's see what else. I think that was it. No, what was I gonna? Probably just iced tea.
Carlos.
Carlos Morales, MAPA. I will be cheering for Philly. They were on my fantasy team, so I want to take it through, just commit. Probably have an adult beverage or two, but nothing specific. Come on.
We need you here on Monday, Carlos. I like that suggestion. Well, thank you. And let's go to Terry first. And I think Saquon's gonna get the few yards he needs to be the all-time, including playoffs rushing leader. I think it's gonna happen like soon. Terry.
Yes, Terry Hawk of MOAC, representing PK 16 schools and institutions. And different than the others, I look for a good game, some funny commercials, and a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Commercials. The advertisers, well, I guess the NFL is the real winner, right? The advertisers and what they command. Go ahead, Joe.
Joe Flaxbeard rooting for the Chiefs. I'm a creature of habit, so first 3 quarters it's usually Modelo, and then if the Chiefs are trailing in the 4th quarter, I switch and I pour a big glass of bourbon to try to do my part to help the rally.
Superstitious is Joe.
Yeah, yes.
And Joe's a new member today. He is now heading the Housing and Development Committee. So, replacing Jeff Spees on that. So, welcome, Joe.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Megan, and then Mike.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Ingberg. I am the Community Development Administrator for the City of Ralston. My son and I are Vikings fans, so we will be cheering for the commercials and Kendrick Lamar at halftime because that is one of his favorite artists. I will probably be drinking, Coke Zero, and he'll probably be having that liquid death water because he's obsessed with it. So, but yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Megan.
Morning, everyone.
Oh, sorry, Mike.
Yep, good morning, everyone. Mike McIntosh with Lamprey Nearson, and I'm the current chair of the Infrastructure Committee. I'm going to say the Chiefs, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say 31-28. So I'll call the score. And then to drink, I think I'm going to start St. Patrick's Day off early. Guinness sounds good, so I'll go out and get some Guinness and maybe have a Guinness.
Nice. Well, we got that score down in the minutes, and so next time we meet, we'll see how you did.
All right.
I like that. Bruce, come on.
Well, Bruce Fountain, City of La Vista Community Development Director. I grew up in Central Missouri, been a Chiefs fan since I was about 5, so lived through all the horrible years, so it's going to be a three-peat. And I'll be probably drinking non-alcoholic beer so I can get to work on Monday.
There we go. So thank you, Bruce. I have this theory that so the NFL is slowly adding a couple games to the season, and so we're at 17 games now. We'll be at 18 here soon, right? And then it'll bump up into President's Day, and so Monday will be a holiday. And we'll be off.
It'll be
So,
nice.
that won't be a thing in the future, Carlos. Thanks, Bruce. Jody, thanks for joining us. Come on.
Sorry, I'm muted. Jody Holston from Porch Investments. I'm gonna go Chiefs, and then I was gonna say wine, but Chris's drink sounded really fun, so I might try that.
Done. Thanks for coming, Jody. And Kay West, good to see you again, Kay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kay West. I was invited by LEDC and MAPA. My organization is People in Place Economics, and I serve as the principal consultant. And I am going for the Chiefs. I'm looking for that 3P, and because I'm from Louisiana, shout out to Abita Beer. But I'm open. I'm open to a swig of the canteen, wherever I'm at. So I'm friendly that way. But yeah, I'll take that risk.
New Orleans come through today. Well, thank you all. That's super important to know where we all stand, I think. So thank y'all for indulging in. Let's get to business. So I always like to just make sure, is there anybody that is unsure if you are a voting member or not? Raise your hand if you don't know if you can vote. Oh, okay. Everybody else is aware of your voting status. I just got here again.
I'm counting you as Joe today, so
Okay.
you technically get to vote today.
Okay. All right. Yes.
And
Thanks,
yes,
Manny.
Fred is always voting, so.
And then the folks online are not.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. So
We're at 14.
14?
Yeah.
Excellent. So then we
Have to skip.
have to,
Meeting
we need 16?
15. So when the next person walks in, then we can all clap and they can feel really weird.
Who is, Bruce, can you get here real quick? Okay, all right. All right, that's okay. We all have, look at all those names on the table there. Okay, we have a lot of folks that should be here, could be here, and we need to make sure we convene in person. For the time being, it needs to be in person so we can get the business done and have representative opinions and information sharing. So help us out with that, and we will table that until somebody comes in. And then I know that there might be a couple folks that have to cut out early, so if we have any, well, I guess we won't be voting on anything, so that's not an issue. So with that, the land bank is here. Leslie and Ashley are here to talk about community informed policies and application review scorecard. This is a treat, y'all. So thank you for being here. You did not, Leslie, send your walk-up music to us in advance. So, okay, all right. Leslie, where would you like to sit or stand as you talk? It's up to you.
They'll only be seeing you up here online, and I've got a slide advancer for
I have
you.
a suggested location.
Sorry, the podium, yeah. I mean, we can switch the cameras, but it'll take a second if you prefer to sit.
I do prefer to sit.
You can sit.
And I
Slide advancer, I'll switch it over real quick. Give me a second.
Let's see right here.
Oh, you can sit where you are. It's fine.
Well, I'm here now. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to talk to you today. I'm assuming all of you guys have heard of the land bank, know what the land bank is. Excellent. So I know I have like 15 minutes or maybe 10, so I can skip that part. Some of you guys I think I recognize, but the Omaha Municipal Land Bank has been in existence for about 10 years. We'll celebrate our 10th year anniversary this July.
Good, I think we're good. So you can just.
Awesome. So because you are all smart and savvy folks, I can kind of skip through this. I just want to say that in my history, I've been able to have the privilege to serve as the executive director for the Memphis Land Bank, which operates underneath another statutory kind of authority, which is very different. So right now, so that you guys can know, there are about 350 land banks across the country, and a lot of them differ based on their powers granted to them by state. And I would just like to take the time to acknowledge the level of intentionality that the Nebraska land bank legislation has. There was very much so thought in making sure that the land banks are not necessarily only entities that take vacant properties and support development of those. They also put in a piece of that provision that supports land bank's ability to support foreclosure prevention. I like to start off with that because I like to dispel a lot of myths. We do want to make sure that we're working with properties that have been vacant and abandoned and rejected by the open market. But if there's an opportunity when we're working on a property that can be returned to that property owner, we like to try to work with them. And that is your state legislation. I did not have that privilege of having that provision in the state of Tennessee. So you guys should clap yourselves on the back for that. I've been by February 27th would make my first 2 years here in Omaha and at the Omaha Municipal Land Bank. Since I've come into office, I've been able to work with the team to kind of really establish a mission that kind of explains how we intend to show up. Why is this important? You'll see it very much so later on, but we look to make ourselves to be seen as a tool to support Omaha. We don't do anything without having our partnerships and relationships with community and developers and stakeholders like yourself. And so if we can kind of work as a tool to support the current vision of Omahans, we hope to support thriving and equitably transforming neglected properties throughout Omaha. And if we do our job right, like exceptional quality of life is bold. Opportunities will be plentiful, and I like building wealth opportunities, especially in communities that have been plagued with a lot of high areas of vacancies. You guys, just kind of on a high level, what makes us different than maybe like a city entity or a wholesale buyer is that we get a chance to have that level of discernment where we can choose how we are able to align how we sell properties in a way that supports existing community goals. We also have the ability to hold property taxes and clear encumbrances and liabilities on our property. But if I go back to that front part, that part is really key because one of the things that we really talked about as a team and when we would take board decisions to see if we're going to apply to support a buyer's application, that was a question that ended up coming up a lot is this something that would support a project in the community? Is something that the community would like to see? Do they want to see a garden? Do they want to see a house? Do they want to see a dumpster? Those are something that we had kind of various plans that were done, but the land bank itself hadn't ventured into its own effort to identify what that looks like. So I wanted to just bring that to you guys' attention. First and foremost, I wanted to say that we have more than property sales at the land bank. We get properties through the tax sale process. We clean them up and remove any kind of hindrance that may disincentivize someone from wanting to develop it because it's got ugly liens on it and they've been stuck in tax purgatory. So we work to get properties free from that. We also have a very robust maintenance program. Can anybody guess how many properties we have in our inventory? Just throw out a number.
2,500.
2,500. Wow, okay. That's off.
125.
Okay, that's a lot.
Between those two?
Yes, I would say between those two, one more guess.
300?
Wait, what'd you say?
300?
You knew, you've heard me do this before. Wow, I've never had someone that close. We have around 300 properties in our inventory.
Wow.
Can you imagine every single snowstorm, winter storm, tornado? We've got to pay to clean that up, not to mention illegal dumping and getting properties that have been vacant and abandoned years before they get into our inventory. So we want to sell those properties, but sometimes it's not enough because they are in just really bad conditions physically. And so we also have been working with the state to absorb some of the risk, to take on some of our properties and make them shovel ready by focusing in tipping point neighborhoods. And we had an opportunity to work with Lamper Nation for that project, and we're very proud. And we're hoping to roll out our next arrangement of properties where we won't have any AMI percentage level set. You'll just have to work with affordable housing projects. So 20 plus properties will be able to make at shovel ready for affordable housing projects. We're super excited about that. Of course, we're here to talk about how we sell properties. So taking that earlier conversation, we seek to empower Omaha to support transforming equitably our properties. You know that we are wanting to sell our properties in ways that align with community goals. And so the best way that we wanted to figure out how to do that is, well, let's come up with an informed process on how we sell our properties to ensure that we're doing that. So we typically sell about 50 properties a year annually. But there are a lot of issues that came with that. Just because we sell a property, you still have to have your building permit, you still have to have financing, and sometimes it's not as cut and dry. Financing and building permit would probably be the highest reasons why that fell has come to place. A lot of it has to do with Mother Nature, a death in the family and you want to abandon the project. Some of it has to deal with like hard times and you just can't afford to keep it up. And so we're always looking for ways to bring new innovative resources, it's like access to capital, but we just have to recognize that that is a barrier to some. We also have notated that the physical conditions of the properties require a lot of upfront. So for the properties that we're absorbing that risk for and making them shovel ready, we're taking on the debt of having $50,000, $120,000 off of a property so that when you get it, you can build on it and not have to worry about putting all of that extra money just to get it ready to put a house on it. So that is some of the things that we've also encountered. That money is only going to get us so far. And so we have to look at that as a consideration. We also saw that there were a lot of high concentrated tax lien certificates that failed to sell, which we ended up typically receiving in our inventory. And that's pretty much in North Omaha, unfortunately. And a lot of the issues that we see is being able to justify getting a construction loan to build it because your appraisal is, you got appraisal issues. And so we've got to figure out how to restore equity back in these communities with high issues of vacancy. Also, downtown investment, it's going to spill over. And so how can we make sure that we're stabilizing these communities so that the people in these communities can have the means and ability to remain there? People. We sell 50 properties, we have 300. We need to grow the amount of small scale developers so that we can have some more activities and more housing being put onto these lots. And prior, when we did some research, we found that a lot of the properties in the areas that we are in are mostly owned by out-of-state investors. So how do we empower local Omahans, especially those from North and South Omaha, to really be able to enter into learning, being exposed, and if they're able to make it, become developers themselves of land bank properties. So with all of that in mind, we're pretty new and kind of growing our presence and showing access to our properties. We wanted to do a lot of education and we did that for the most part in 2023. But the biggest issue was our policies. So how do we set up buyers for success? How do we make consistent decision-making with our board among different administrations and board leaderships? How do we stop the patchwork policy changes that ended up creating barriers despite the intent? How do we streamline all of that? And what role do we want to play intentionally to have impact on how we work to undesign the red line? What role does it look like for us to take a position on affordable housing? And how do we ensure or have more confidence that our property sale projects that we support aligns with community needs and address the failed sales? With that, we came up with this community informed policy project. This allowed us to come up with some policy and procedures that allows us to get some shared understandings and desires from the community and advance growth from the communities that we are looking to support, and making sure that we're doing the most that we can do to be proactive in supporting the development of those projects. So not just getting your from sales to close, but from sales to completed in that development piece. So we've done a lot of work last year to do a lot of public meetings. We had several focus groups. We worked with several of our partners to host this, and we also worked with Center for Community Progress. We scrubbed a lot of our data that kind of facilitated our lead application. So when someone starts an application compared to when someone submits an application and review, we also looked at the compliance monitoring side. So once you submit, once you close on your property, you have 2 years plus to actually complete the development. And until you complete that development, you have the restrictive deed language in your deed that says that you need to complete this prior to transferring so that we can ensure that you're doing what you're saying you're doing. Well, we looked at that data and saw some opportunities for growth in that way. And we didn't go into the community and say, here's our policy with all this lawyer jargon and help us figure out how to make this better. I come from a lot of planning and engagement activities, and what I thought would be really cool. And I will say, I also came to a Heartland 2050 event, and y'all incorporated gamification in one of the meetings that I came into. And we thought that that would be a good way to kind of help people to kind of participate in policy using trends and findings and trade-off exercises if we use gamification. So the next best way to do that was we made the community our board. What does that even look like? So we have 7 districts here in Omaha. Each district, we have a representative on our board. So we went to North and South Omaha, had people in groups of 6 or 7 people, and they looked at hypothetical applications, and they got to be like they were in the acquisition disposition committee, and they had to review the application data, any kind of supporting documents, any blueprints, and their financial submittal as if you would receive it if you were literally on our board. And they had to either approve, reject, give conditions. And if they give conditions, they have to make sure that they have to be very consistent in applying that in multiple scenarios. Well, our findings is Omaha wanted us to prioritize residents and when possible to support growth opportunities. Surprising as it may be, they wanted us to be more due diligence on the applicants. They wanted us to vet the projects to ensure they were going to be sustainable. They also were looking to see if we could even put a social impact around that. To what impact does that project benefit the surrounding community versus the individual? In addition to prioritizing residents and supporting and being graceful for first-time developers, knowing that we need to grow, what does it look like to provide additional wraparound support and resources from a land bank's perspective, and helping them to close, helping them to complete a project, and how can we increase our access? And what that looked like is we've changed our applications. We've added social impact statement to our application to make sure that we're asking more questions to figure out how does your project benefit the community. This is like the biggest thing. We wanted to restore equity. So we did adjust our properties to fair market, which helped in a lot of ways and strengthen the market in that area, but in a way that we can support affordable housing opportunities, owner occupied housing, residents from the community. We can award up to 50% discounts off of that. So if we're gonna make a sacrifice on equity, it's gonna have to support the community first. Any questions so far? So I think this is an example of what that decision making looks like, because we needed to make sure that I like to plan as if, you know, if I'm gonna win the lottery and I want to become a foundation one day in Omaha, how does the land bank make sure it's still supporting community in their decision making? And so this scorecard is that way for us to kind of help our board members to be consistent in their decision making. There's no favoritism. We can support leading by success. This is actually on our website, so if anyone wants to actually apply and they want to know how their programs and projects are going to be evaluated, you have everything you need to succeed. Okay, we can't be any more transparent than this. It's literally a cheat sheet of how we're evaluating your application and how we are incentivizing discounts. As you can tell, these align with the various activities that we saw in our trade-off exercises at the end. We're evaluating based on your applicant experience, your residency, your social impact, conditions of the property, and length of time that the property has been in our inventory. We found that from our research that not anything is better than something. Okay, they would rather see a property remain vacant than somebody putting a garden on it. However, we are tired of looking at that vacant lot, so you need to do something with it. So we're gonna be very much more attentional on kind of making sure that the community knows about the properties that are available for sale. But we are also going to make sure that that project has some value contributing to the community, whether or not that's housing, whether or not that's supporting a business with having a commercial company land there, something that aligns with that. We also changed the way that we are providing grace. When it comes to how we close on properties, we understand that not every building permit is going to have the same time frame and timeline. If they need a variance, if they need to have something replotted and rezoned, it could potentially take more than the standard 90 days. And so what we'll do is we have an arrangement with the city. If there's a building permit that's been applied and approved, we're notified, so you won't be able to pull that one over us. But we work with them, we work with some of our lender partners to make sure that you're showing a demonstrated effort towards working on this. Now, if you go MIA, this no longer applies to you, but until a decision is made and or you just start to like disappearing, we will continue to extend the 90 days as a part of being graceful. It will still be reviewed by the committee after the second extension, but we will err on grace if and when possible, as it makes sense. And then we also have another part on our application piece. We separated it because we noticed in the application leads that we were getting, people were starting applications and then paying fees and submitting it, but not really understanding what they were getting into. So there is a due diligence process that we had where it kind of prompts you to look at the property in with your eyes. I know it sounds really crazy, but you need to do more than actually just looking on Doges. You have to do an actual site visit. You actually have a conversation with the building permit department. Like, are you trying to put a shed on something that has a sewage underneath it that won't be zoned for that? Ask these questions before you get financially invested later on, and you don't have to pay an application fee for that. The point of which you get all of your due diligence, which means that you've checked as much as possible all of your feasibility of your project on that property, you then will be approved to actually apply for that project. And what we're looking for is the financial ability to demonstrate your ability to develop this project, your timeline, which we will honor, and your ability to align how your project support the community needs, and that will be the 25%. We also heard from the community loud and clear that they hated our property sales platform. we changed that, we heard. We don't have the financial means to be able to move it every single whim, but it was overwhelming. A lot of feedback about that one. So you guys now have the benefit of the Ptolemy, which is on our website, and it also is very connected to other data sets. So there's a refresh every single day with current data. So we think that that has been a better process on the front end and on the back end for us. We do quarterly check-ins. So once you close on a property and you're building it, we're gonna check on you every quarter to make sure, how are you doing? Do you need to be connected to some additional resources? How can we help? It's a partnership. We wanna see you succeed. We don't wanna have to take it back. But we might actually have to take it back because community is gonna say to us, well, you sold this property for this and look, there's nothing happening. And so we did have to take a look at what that looks like in terms of enforcing our compliance, which is not in this slide deck. Wonderful. All right, well, you're just gonna have to remember what I say. We will have to take a look at starting to draw back several of our properties. There's a clawback provision in there that allows us to be able to do so. But we do it on the areas where those properties have been, you've had like 5+ years to develop on this property and you're just doing a single family house, or you sold this property to someone else with that deed language in it, you violated a land bank law. We may have to like work legally to take that back. But it is our way to make sure that if someone is approved to do something for supporting the community's needs, that they actually follow through on that. So we will have to put our big shoes on at that point in time. We're doing more awareness, more signs on our properties listed on MLS. We have an in-house clinic. This is one thing that happened last year that we're really happy to share today, is that if you need additional language, that should not be a barrier to your ability to access developing properties. We do have a partnership with World Speaks. We have all of our applications and policies translated in Spanish and in French. But if you need some additional support services, we can make an appointment with our translator interpreters to help make sure that that is not stopping you. Fun stuff. Okay. I am hoping to work with a lot of you all, hopefully, and some other members across the state of Nebraska to see if we can provide some more proactive tools in our tool belt to go after some of our vacant and abandoned properties. Some of them are going to be a little bit more ambitious than the others. Legislative Bill 458, I am only going to speak today on the land bank portion of that bill. We are looking to have Nebraska land banks to have access to use an expedited timeline up to 2 years for redemption of certified vacant and abandoned properties. You guys know about the tax sale process, right? No? Okay. Wonderful. So, properties that become delinquent in taxes, after a year, they become delinquent. Eventually, that following year, there's an opportunity for you to pay that. Otherwise, by that next March, it'll be entered into tax sale. So you'll have a tax lien on that property, which will be sold to investors in March for a public sale and a private sale in June. Well, we participate in that in partnership with Douglas County. Any properties that fail to sell in tax sale, we end up foreclosing on it. We have to wait 3 years before we can do anything on starting that foreclosure process. So from the time that property becomes vacant and abandoned to the time that we go through the entire tax sale, the redemption process, the foreclosure period of 5 years have gone by. And so you've got people living in these houses next to these properties that we have to take 5 years in order to do something if they don't redeem. And so the person living next to those properties are suffering. They're asking us, what can we do with these properties? And sometimes they may have structures on them, and by the time we get in, there are no more structures on it. So we lost the opportunity to actually intervene with saving and preserving the stock when we had it. So if we are able to work this out, legislative bill 458 would allow land banks only a expedited time period to be able to pursue getting these vacant and abandoned properties redemption within 2 years instead of 3 years, which is very consistent with the Nebraska Constitution. How good am I on time?
We're getting there. We're a little bit past. It's fine.
Okay. Well, legislative bill 620 is very complex. I don't know if now is a good time to go into that. But I can make sure that.
Information about OB6.
Perfect. On this handout that Ashley's handing out, there's a video in the back. This is a receivership program. Other states have this. This is an opportunity for Nebraska to not be the last state to do something about that's more proactive about taking care of the strategic code enforcement here. I like to preserve as much of our housing stock as possible. These houses have a history or story tied to them, and if we could save them and keep them from having to be demolished and condemned or put into tax sale years later after they've accrued a lot of lien that exceed the value of that property itself, we would love to be able to help the community access those opportunities. The 620 DeNixie introduced, the hearing will be March 19th. This is an opportunity for us to really be able to take control of how these properties are plaguing our neighborhoods. In the event that you have a nuisance property that's chronically code violation, this is proposing that it would establish the ability for cities to have the courts to examine the case and vet the owner of that property and determine that that property owner has no interest in, has truly abandoned that property. In that case, he would appoint a receiver to actually fix and abate that issue. They'll be able to foreclose on it similar to a tax sale, but it won't have to take 5 years to get something done. And eventually you can choose, this goes only on residential structures, but you can either stabilize, demolish it yourself, or do a full rehab and auction it off. And then that receiver's lien, all of those costs that goes into that receiver lien is what you auction off. And then at the final of that auction, if no one buys the property at auction, the judge will issue you, the receiver, a deed, or whoever buys the property at auction will get that deed from the judge. This also allows an opportunity for any surplus amount of money that happens to take place at this auction to be returned to the property owner so as to not trigger takings. This is something that is very complex. I anticipate that it was introduced this year, but it is so new that it may take another year, but I would love to follow up with any of you all who are interested in learning more. I'm working with Tennessee right now to see if they can kind of help us put on a workshop before March 19th. We would love to have advocates to help us be very proactive in bringing this to the state of Nebraska. This is not something that just benefits land banks. We would like to be a receiver, but this is also an opportunity if you're looking to start entering into developer opportunity. This helps you build your capacity. This helps you to access these properties, these structures, and do rehabs. And also this municipality is no longer having to exhaust a lot of resources to actually rehab these properties.
That's LB 620?
Yes, that is LB 620. There's videos and additional support on the QR codes in the back. We have
This
our.
handout does not have that, but I can send you the QR code, sorry. This was the leftover from another event, but didn't have that.
Well, that's wonderful. Ashley will make sure you all get that. Awesome. And then we have our symposium on June 4th. And I don't care if I have another slide after that. That concludes my report.
Well, Leslie, thank you for to give this presentation in various places, and so she is becoming masterful at making it fit in the time frame. So the land bank is at the intersection of real estate development, politics and government, affordable housing, community engagement, and all those different things. And so Leslie's been a breath of fresh air to this community. We stole her from Memphis, Tennessee, to come here and help us with our reimagine our land banking. So thank you for what you're doing here. Please stay. Okay, I mean, today, right now, if you'd like, but also.
Okay. Oh, no.
In the community, but thank you for that, and Ashley, just for the record, Ashley is obviously a great ambassador for the land bank in this space and in the other direction, I'm sure. So Ashley will make sure that this body has all the information to connect after today, so thank you.
Awesome, thank
You very much. Let's keep rolling, looking at the time. So it's comp planning time season in this community. And there are various comprehensive plans that are being discussed and the engagement is happening. And so today we're going to hear from Tammy about Bellevue's comprehensive plan. And so I've been looking forward to this. Tammy, I forgot your walk-up music. She said something from Eminem. She said, here,
You had another thing for me to manage.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So
We'll plan better next
Lose
time.
Yourself is playing in the mind.
There you go.
Okay,
I'm a nineties girly.
go.
Thank you guys for having me here. City of Bellevue just embarked on a recent adoption of our comprehensive plan update. I've been with the city 20 years. The last time we had done a comprehensive plan was 2007, 2008 timeframe. So we were due. Since we had done the previous comprehensive plan, we'd grown in population, but we'd also extended our extraterritorial jurisdiction through annexation. The city's ETJ now goes as far south to Chris and Hansen Lakes. Sorry, Kelly, we didn't take those. That was by design. Obviously we have bounded by the north on Harrison Street. We've got the Missouri River on the east side, and then we have an agreement with Papillion for kind of our western ETJ. But definitely time to move forward on some new comprehensive planning. The other goal of mine was the city's had a number of planning efforts, particularly in the last 3 or 4 years. We've got the Fort Crook Road 2040 plan for transportation and development. We've had our Affordable Housing Action Plan recently. We also did a Parks Master Plan update. So as much as I love having all those documents on my desk, it's nice one of my goals was to have the comprehensive plan encompass all of those visions and goals and put it into one document. So basically we wanted a coordinated and consensus built vision for our future, clear steps for growth and development, wanted everyone to be on the same page, and also the step-by-step action plan. Obviously, most of you folks are familiar with the process. We did extensive engagement, including multiple advising bodies. We did data analysis, and we did interactive process to develop and refine ideas. And I should say we engaged Olson Consulting to help us with the comprehensive plan process. The plan is developed with vision, values, goals, and strategies for our future. Covers our topics like land use development, placemaking, transportation, and it's a complete action plan. Also, for the first time, as part of our comprehensive plan, we included a long-range transportation plan, which was very important to us. We had never done that before. Basically, the first part of the phase was discovery and understanding, looking at our existing conditions. We did an economic and market study, site visits, demographics, mapping, all the basics of the comp plan. I want to focus a little bit on engagement and communications. One of the things I was very nervous about going into this process, and again, comp plan is extremely important for the city. I was worried about what I call plan fatigue. Again, going back to all those plans that we've been doing the last 3 or 4 years, we've asked the community time and time again to step up and give us their opinions and participate. And I was really worried going into this process that people were tired of us, they were just going to ignore us. And so that was a big concern of mine. So we did something a little bit different. In the past, we've done public open houses, asked people to come to us, and Olson said, you know what, let's flip the script. I want you folks to come up with 100-person stakeholder committee that's going to participate in our multi-day charrettes. So basically kind of that built-in participation. And I said, you want me to get how many people? I don't even know 100 people. So basically through staff, we came up with about 35 participants, and kudos to several of you folks and agencies in the room who stepped up and helped us out. We also publicly went out and asked people, are you interested? And we were very upfront. We said, this is going to be the time commitment.
This is how many hours we're gonna ask for, and this is gonna be the specific ask. This is what we're gonna want you to do. So we had people kind of, I wanted to be upfront with people so they knew what they were signing up for, what the time commitment was gonna be. And we asked them to follow through the entire process. And so we put that out on social media, we put that out on BTV, and we got a really good response. So through our planning charrettes and stakeholder committee, we averaged about 70 participants, give or take a few. So it was really good engagement through that process, which was really important for us because we're currently at a population of about 65,000 people. So we wanted not only people who reside in Bellevue and were in different phases of life, but we also wanted, we wanted business. We wanted our utility companies. We wanted our, partners within Sarpy County and Omaha. So we were very fortunate to get that participation. We also had a technical committee of about 15 members that met monthly. We did several visioning workshops. We did online public surveys. Like I said, we did the planning and design charrettes. And obviously COVID taught all of us there's a number of ways to do this. So while we did a lot in person, we also made sure that we had an online presence. So we also did virtual open houses, and we're very active online. We kept the project website active for about 10 months. And I should back up and say we started the process it took us about 13 months from start to finish, 14 months if you count adoption. So we did it and we met our timeline. We also did marketing materials, and we did something new, which was mailers. I was a little bit hesitant. Those mailers, some of you get in the mail, throw away with your weekly newspaper. I was like, but I was surprised at how many people told us that's how they had learned about it. So, cost us a little bit of money, but it was actually worth it. Again, we did the design charrettes. We nailed down visions and values. We nailed down plan recommendations. We asked people to look at map and graphics, and it was extremely interactive. And again, very, very important part of this process is to understand what the community and what the stakeholders are telling us. As far as implementation and positioning ourselves for implementation, the comp plan includes an action plan. It includes what's called a hot list. So there's numbers of items that are priorities for us. So very short-term goals. Obviously, the comp plan is a 15 to 20-year plan. As much as we would like everything to happen right now, it's not going to. But we do have that hot list that shows us what we're capable of in the short term. We also went through the public hearing process and adoption. Basically, kind of the flow of information of our comp plan is we have the vision, we have the values, goals, strategies, and actions. So it's very concise as to how it's broken up. The vision statement that folks came up with throughout our design charrettes is that Bellevue is a dynamic community that embodies a small town charm and preserves its heritage while inviting future growth with inclusive and reliable mobility options, vibrant and connected destinations, diverse business opportunities, and a strong sense of place. Bellevue's kind of always struggled with our identity. We're a suburb of Omaha, home to Offutt Air Force Base, which we're very proud of. But we've also struggled to define what we are and who we are. And over time and time again, we heard, well, we want to have those small town values, but we're a population of 65,000. So we don't want people to count us out. We are a thriving community. And not so surprisingly, we also heard about connectivity and transportation. That was a huge one that people were very wanted to make sure that we encompass in the plan. Here's a few of our community values. Patriotism, again, with the Offutt Air Force Base, no big surprise. History, inclusivity, diversity, affordability, growth, family friendly, all things that I think are pertinent to the times and what we're all hearing in our agencies. Again, transportation values, connectivity, accessibility was a huge one, and also having diverse modes. So again, no surprise, but these were the themes that we kept hearing again and again. As far as recommendations, the plan contains a recommendation for growth. We have 4 growth areas that are all prioritized of where we should go next. Also talk about things like consideration of our military compatibility areas. In the gray, that's all Offutt. We don't have any control over it. Again, we love Offutt, but Geographically, it also bisects our community with the flight path and that, so that's a bit of a challenge as well. We also talked a lot about density, appropriate density over time. Future land use, some of the things that we changed is some new industrial development in the southeast along the Highway 34 corridor. Mixed use was a huge theme that we heard about and that everyone said they wanted to see. And again, that goes back to density and diversity and options. But people said, you know, I would say 10 years ago, people were scared of density. People were scared of having, you know, a lot of apartment homes, townhomes, duplexes anymore. That's what people want. And that's what people want to see in their community. So the map reflects a lot of those mixed use areas, you know, areas where you can have that commercial use, residential use, all in harmony together. So a lot of the newer areas were mixed use areas on the map. We also looked at different destinations and districts. We're very fortunate in the city. We have places like Fontenelle Forest. You know, we have the riverfront. So we looked at entertainment districts, sports complexes, unique shopping experiences. Also, maybe there's a little thing you all have heard about, the Bellevue Water Park, the entertainment district. We will be breaking ground and doing grading, hopefully in March if the weather cooperates. So that's that area in the blue to the south. So a lot of exciting things happening. And just these are some of the destination areas that we looked at. We also looked at economic health and vitality. So age-old concern, how do we revitalize under our utilized commercial centers? You know, the big box retailers have gone away. What do we do with those areas? How do we attract new businesses, encourage small businesses, private investment, also maintaining high quality city services? Infrastructure is always a major one. And how do we invest in our district master plans and have unique development? Those were all items that we looked at. Again, going back to important item is creating a sense of place. We want to do that through streetscape, public art, gateways, community branding, landscaping. So that's all mapped out in the plan as to how we can work to do that in different phasing. Also, enhancing the quality of life through physical environment, walkability and connectivity, again, very important, our parks and rec. And then also we looked at having planned resiliency areas, Fontenelle Forest, Offutt, AQs is the air installation compatible use zone. Again, area that we can't develop, bisects our community, but how can we use that as an asset? You know, how can we use that to our benefit through things like green space, trails, items like that. Also Missouri River, Papio, and floodplains. Floodplain, floodway, we have a lot of it in our city. We're at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. So again, areas that can't be developed, but areas that we can use for parks and recreation and open space and trails. So still can be an asset to the community. We also looked at strengthening community partnerships. That goes hand in hand with access to health resources, community programming, educational resources, all important things for the community. Next, transportation. Again, we had the long range transportation plan as a component of the comp plan. So we looked at, you know, transportation being multimodal, context sensitive, and connections for all users. Again, themes that we heard throughout the plan. So we have an active transportation framework in the plan where we can focus on key corridors, where we could focus on intersection improvements to enhance safety. We've got a number of them that people continually complain about. Everybody in Bellevue knows which ones they are, and how we plan for growth areas and regional connections, including right-of-way preservation. So how we can be proactive rather than reactive. Nobody likes those widening projects that have to happen after the fact and take years to complete, right? So we want to try to be proactive in those areas that we know are going to be high growth areas. We also looked at roadway functional framework, just, you know, how we can update our design standards for roadway classification, again, planning for those growth areas and creating a well-defined arterial network to distribute demand, how we can move people efficiently and effectively. A big thing that we have in Bellevue too is truck routes. You know, with a connection to Highway 34, connection over to I-29, Highway 75, One area we particularly struggle in is we're looking to redevelop the Old Town area. And we have a lot of heavy truck traffic roll through, believe it or not, and roll through quite fast. We also have truck traffic that comes up off of the Highway 34 corridor and comes up into our residential neighborhoods. Not fun if you have a house on Hancock Street and you're having 18-wheelers roll by all day long. So that's one of the things that we're trying to focus on is having specific truck routes and looking at alternative ways to, I mean, obviously truck transportation, very important, right? We want our goods and services, but how can we make that safer? And what are some alternative ways to get them out of residential neighborhoods or get them out of Old Town where we're looking at more pedestrian friendly development? So that was a huge component of our plan. Also transit. Obviously, we have the Fort Crook Road 2040, which long-term plans for, bus rapid transit. That's probably going to take a while to implement, right? So one of the things we looked at is what can we do in the meantime? How can we provide this service and how can we provide it effectively in the meantime before that bus rapid transit expands down into Bellevue? So that was a focus of the plan. Looking at things like corridor pedestrian enhancements, stop enhancement, station planning, things like that. And so we continue to work with MAPA and Metro through this process. Implementation is always the fun one, right? The plan's the easy part, but it's what are you going to do with it? And so again, our plan has actions, owners as far as, is it the planning department staff? Is it public works? Is it a combination thereof? That type of thing. Who participates, timeframes, costs, things like that. We also looked at funding. Obviously, there's only so much we can do with tax dollars. So, how do we look at grants? How do we look at other potential funding moving forward? So looking at local investment, state, federal opportunities, things of that nature. So the plan is specific to that. Again, I touched on a little bit, but also the hot list, things that we can do short term to move forward. And there's certain items that we're already doing that with. We've got a few things that are already in play coming off of the plan, so that's good. And with that, if you guys have any questions, I know I threw a lot at you fast, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So,
Thank you, John. That was great. What questions do you have?
It's not necessarily a question, but I'm glad that you said that transit is being a part of this particular plan.
Absolutely.
Because oftentimes it's kind of left behind the scenes or it's either an afterthought. And so as people are saying, they want the growth and they want more, whether it's amenities or whatnot, but it's how do you get people to those places? And so I like that you're kind of using that as a parallel to, as you're thinking about these things, that you're also looking at how do we get people there who don't have their own vehicles and whatnot.
and with transit, it's always kind of the chicken and the egg conversation. Like, what comes first? Do you have to have transit to have the growth, or do you have do you need the growth first to actually have the transit and have the ridership? So that's something we struggle with, and it's a constant conversation with Metro. And again, we're doing some planning along Fort Crook Road with Metro and MAPA right now, but definitely a big part of the conversation. And so it's something we need to plan for and have in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to give kudos to him because I think Bellevue has really taken and done a lot of intentional planning, whether it's Fort Crook Road 2040 or this plan to kind of lay the groundwork for that. We're excited to partner with you on the mini grant project that you referenced with Metro now. I think one really interesting opportunity, though, you were talking about those land use zones around Offutt, and that was from the joint land use study that MAPA coordinated with a lot of partners here locally. We're setting up for the follow-up to that, which, when we got done with that study, there were a lot of things about housing and transportation and workforce and how do the communities of this region support Offutt Air Force Base. And at that time, it was kind of like, we'll get to those things. Well, the pandemic, cost increases, lots of other things have made those things priorities of Offutt's leadership. And so this military infrastructure resilience plan that we're really setting the ground for here after July 1 looks at how do we support transportation kind of from an Offutt-centric perspective, but those are regional connections. People that work and live in the region and work at Offutt are in all the communities in this region. People who are military retirees live in communities in both states, access services on Offutt. And so this linkage, I think, between our region's largest employer, how we support that, how we make that economically viable, signal to Congress that the community is invested in it, while also helping implement. And I think it opens up a lot of new opportunities with Offutt at the table about other funding sources that we wouldn't have had in the past. And so kudos to Bellevue. It's been very intentional. It's a lot of long-term planning, but
Right.
we're getting there.
We're getting there.
Well, thank you, Tammy. I think that
Thank you.
this is well done. I think, isn't it interesting that how similar the issues are? You know, trust with over surveying people, right? The community engagement piece, truck routes. How interesting that we all sort of deal with similar issues that we can, you know, I think get together and talk about best practices for, but also, you know, next practices, how are we going to evolve and how we address those. So thank you. Keep us posted on this as more comes
Thank you.
about with your committee. And with that, let's move on. Ashley, are you ready? I think you might be up first. Let's move to committee updates and Manny's exit.
I was trying to sneak in.
Oh, it's not happening. Here's your water, Manny. Okay. So first, I think you're first, Ashley, with the engagement or equity engagement update.
Yeah, so thanks everyone for obviously listening before to our update from the land bank. Well, happy to share more about the work that we're doing in 2025. For equity and engagement, we are rolling along. Joe and I have decided to keep equity and engagement and housing and development together again for this year. So we're excited for that opportunity. We have our next meeting next week. Time is flying. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about, obviously a hot button issue right now. My committee is equity and engagement. How are we thinking about DEI and equity and engagement and the work that we are doing? And we have a really lovely speaker that Saul found who's going to come and speak with us. We're also going to revisit the strategic planning that we did like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, just so that we could confirm with the committee what they would like to pursue this year. And so our hope is that we could go through that strategic plan, pick out some items, and then we'll kind of frame the rest of our speakers and our activities around that. We're also really excited that our June meeting, we do meet every other month. Our June meeting is going to be a field trip. We're going to go on the North Omaha Legacy Tour with Preston Love. And so we're excited for that. We're excited to invite the other committees. Anyone on RPAC is open to come as well. Let us know and we can give you additional information. But again, we really hope this year that we could have a combo of learning and figuring out what's going on, and then actual like site visits or just ways for us to like get on the ground and do some work. So excited for that.
That's awesome. What's the date for that?
June 10th.
June 10th. Any questions for Ashley? Actually, I was trying to make sure your boss knew that you do an outstanding job as committee lead here. I was trying to, you know, but Leslie already. Thank you. Is Joe still in the room?
I am, yes. I don't have much to add since I've been very new to this role. I just want to thank Ashley and Saul for coaching me up a little bit here. Excited to be a part of this great group and working with Ashley and Saul to brainstorm some future kind of joint committee meetings together.
Well, thank you, Joe. And you know, what we try to make customary in this space is, you know, ask for what you need, always be recruiting for, you know, new members on your subcommittee to help advance the conversation. So you have a lot of, I think, interested and engaged partners in the room and some of the folks that aren't present this month, but keep that going and let us know what you need to support this conversation, which is so timely and so important in this community.
Sure.
The broader community, I mean, so.
And I do apologize that I wasn't able to make it in person this time, but I plan on it at the future meetings too. So looking forward to working with you guys in person going forward.
Thank you.
Yep.
Questions or suggestions for Joe? Seeing none, let's keep rolling. Mike.
All right, yeah, thank you. And again, same with Joe, I apologize. Usually try to make it there in person, and I know it's important for the voting. So hopefully we'll be there the next time we meet. But we did have a really good, informative infrastructure committee meeting on Wednesday. It was the day it was icy, and so we had a lot of people online, but Lori Laster from the Papio NRD gave a presentation and updated us on the status of the new maps that are coming out, the FEMA floodplain maps, which Tammy mentioned. It's really important from a planning standpoint. The Douglas County maps, just so everybody knows, March 25th is the date for the official adoption. And then the Sarpy County maps They still have some things they're working through, so they don't have a final date on the Sarpy County maps. But similar with the other committee, we're trying something new in April. We're gonna try to get people out. We're got a field trip lined up to visit the City of Omaha Combined Sewer Overflow Treatment Facility, which is near Saddle Creek. And it's a really cool facility, really important for the community. And so that should be fun. And we encourage people to come and join us. And then we'll be looking, for some other unique type events, maybe the rest of the year. So still brainstorming on that. We do have some working groups. Our TIF working group is making a lot of progress through a partnership with UNO. We're creating a TIF fact book that is close to being released, and that will be a good resource for MAPA for some education, both for public and elected officials and others. So we're still talking about how that book can be used, but we're getting close on that. And then we have a Reconnecting Communities working group. Carlos announced there's going to be a grant, or they received a grant, a Reconnecting Communities grant through the Thriving Communities group. So that was good. I think they're kind of just waiting on getting more information there. And then we also have a Responsible Infrastructure working group. They are working towards presenting at a 2025 transportation conference where they can present their findings. I checked in, they need to regroup for the new year. Hopefully we'll have a good update on that next time we meet. So a lot of good things going on, and that's all I've got on my notes. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take those. Otherwise, appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Mike. And thanks for staying plugged in. Any questions for Mike regarding infrastructure or that March 25th date? Say what that was again?
March 25th is when the FEMA flood maps, they're in draft form now.
Okay.
FEMA will make them official. They will be adopted on March 25th.
Thank you.
Yep.
Questions for Mike? Mike, are you recruiting new members for the infrastructure committee?
We are. That's a big push this year, is to try to get more members and more interest in the infrastructure committee. We've got great education opportunities at our meetings and good opportunities. So we are definitely in a recruiting mode.
Okay. And when do you meet again?
We meet every other month, and Saul helped me out. It's 2:30 on a Wednesday, and it's usually the Wednesday before this RPAC meeting. But Saul
That's correct.
helped me out there.
First Wednesday of the month.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. I don't see Kent here, and he's not in the room. Does Kent have updates for?
He didn't send any updates, but I can just tell you a little bit of what we did. We just had our first meeting for the year. We had the opportunity to invite Dr. Christina Kissinger with the Water and Climate Program with UNMC. Climate crisis is important to have some more information regarding some of the projects that are happening in the region. Dr. Kissinger presented on a rapid assessment that UNMC was able to work along with some of the community health clinics and some volunteers that were located where the tornado hit back in April. That was a very important presentation because it brought us to understanding of what we need to have or be ready in order to provide more preparedness materials to the community. So that's what took place on our first meeting.
Thank you.
I would just add too, Kent and I are coordinating on some work around solid waste, which is one of the subcommittees on natural resources. There's legislative bills and proposals, and there's a legislative study that occurred several years ago at the behest of the Nebraska legislature to really kind of look at the framework, where the opportunities are. There's been some conversations among partners around this table about grant opportunities, but we're going to be meeting on Monday with folks from the Iowa Waste Exchange, which is kind of a statewide approach to doing much of what's recommended in that Nebraska legislation, and thinking through the model, what the needs are, what we know locally. But there's gonna be a lot of opportunities to get involved in that at the probably more county level, but also the local level.
Thank you. Solid waste. Ken always likes to say he likes to talk trash. Here we are. Thank you for that, Mike and Solid. Okay, so that's all we have for committee updates. There aren't any questions for any of the chairs. Moving to MAPA updates. Who's doing that?
I think I'm starting it off.
Go ahead. Come on, Brandon.
All right. Well, we've talked about SEDS before this meeting, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. MAPA, we have a partnership with the Economic Development Administration. They have designated MAPA and our 6 county region as an economic development district. As part of that, we are required to every 5 years produce and submit VSEDS, which is essentially a comprehensive plan for economic development throughout the region. So I'll come back to the SEDS here in a minute. I kind of wanted to focus more, provide an update on a not focus group, but a workshop that we hosted yesterday here at MAPA. In the last year and a half, MAPA and the Latino Economic Development Council have participated in what's called Equity Impact Investments. That is a national program that offers technical assistance and consultation for relationship building between economic development organizations and community-based organizations. So it really focuses on kind of like strengthening these social human bonds between those kinds of organizations. MAPA and LEDC participated in phase 1 of this national curriculum that included over 120 community-based organizations, EDOs. And then our partnership was one of 24 selected nationwide to take part in phase 2, which involves much more direct technical assistance, coaching, consultation. So we've been working with the International Economic Development Council and the New Growth Innovation Network. They have been the partners providing a lot of this kind of assistance to us. And one project that came out of discussions over the last several months is this idea of rallying around the idea of a shared community and economic development plan. Now going back to SEDS, we are already producing this document. We are required within our partnership with EDA to produce the SEDS. But you know, in honesty, for quite a while, it's kind of been a checkbox exercise. And if we're doing this, and if we're serious about growing this region, I think we can do it better, but we need strong partnerships in order to do that. So since last August, we've continued to progress in the Equity Impact Investments Program and refine how we want to move forward, not just between LEDC and MAPA, but other partners as well. So yesterday we hosted a workshop here at MAPA. We had partners from IEDC, LEDC, the Omaha Chamber, Mr. Station was there. He can attest, UNO, and some other partners. And we just kind of continued the conversation about what does this regional economic development plan look like? And we still have a lot of work to do on that. And I think we'll need to have some more internal conversations and continue to talk about this with our equity impact investment team. I would suspect that we will lean on RPAC for a big part of this. So, you know, Mike, if you want to add anything, you might be able to contextualize it a little bit more broadly, but this is kind of where we're at now. And we're just sort of working to build this next iteration, which is hopefully more meaningful and intentional in how we communicate our regional priorities to federal and state partners.
Yeah, I would only offer 2 things. I think that captured it well. You know, our SEDS for a long time is focused on our partnership with the economic development organizations at the county level, like what Mark's leading down in Mills County, or our partnership with Gateway up in Washington County and Blair. in all 6 counties within the MAPA region. And that's been good, and that puts us in a lot of kind of like, their playbook when they need to go seek funding and things like that. And we work a lot in the smaller communities on Main Street initiatives. But what we realized is that we didn't really have the context of the work that's happening with nonprofit development organizations, some of these more neighborhood-based strategies, even things like port authorities, that communities are standing up, and these other economic development tools, good life districts, all of that. And so just really thinking about and taking stock of, there's been a lot of change. There's also been a lot of investment. There's a lot of new tools, whether it's the North-South Omaha Recovery Grants or other changes in economic development, and just trying to figure out what's the right role for MAPA to play in facilitating that conversation regionally, like a group like this or something more broad. Or, how do we resource it? Where do we come together? Where are those opportunities to partner? Because if everybody's kind of going after their own thing, it's going to be difficult to one, set up that kind of competitive environment, but it's also going to be more difficult to secure the dollars. And so with that, that's really the groundwork. And I would say, the Chamber's strategic plan and looking at kind of a greater Omaha and everything that they're working on there, we kind of nestle in nicely into that seeking federal funding. How do we resource all of this, leveraging all these state pieces? And so our sort of traditional infrastructure and community development piece also has this, let's hustle and really get to work on securing the resources to make all of these things happen. But to do that, we've got to know what everybody's working on. And so there's kind of this fabric of convening in there. So I think Grant nailed it. I mean, the workshop yesterday was cool. They were supposed to be in town, but with all the uncertainty of the federal funding, they weren't. But yeah, it's exciting. Trying to make it more valuable.
Great conversation yesterday, and Kamisha K. West, who's joining us virtually, was there and had a chance to meet those partners that Grant outlined. So more of again, building that social infrastructure and coming closer together and being more competitive and inviting more voices to the table. So that'll never get old, I don't think. So thank you for that. Thank you for that context, Grant, for this. Anything else on that, or any questions for Grant on that conversation? Seeing none. Transportation projects.
Hey, so I came in a bit late. Lindsay Button, I'm a transportation planner with MAPA. We've talked to this group before about our Safe Streets and Roads for All project. We're coming up on 4 really big public meetings for that project. So we've got the dates and times and addresses up there. They're also available on our website. The purpose of this public meetings is kind of to go through all of the content leading up to that draft plan release, which should be available on the 27th of February. So they're 2-hour events from 4 to 6 p.m. at 4 locations throughout the metro to go over data and background on our comprehensive safety action plan. So there's going to be information boards, a couple focus areas looking at things like speeding, seatbelt use, impaired driving. There will be 2 presentations. It's the same presentation, just at different times, so that drop in, drop out as you're available if you want to come and hang out with us for a bit. We will have snacks, so that's always good to encourage people to come in and talk with us. And then we also have a couple self-guided activities at the events, including some blown up maps that are going to kind of outline some of the priority projects for safety improvements that have come out of this plan, along with what's the other big one? So there's priority projects and then a lot of countermeasures and recommendations are the other big ones. So come hang out, have some snacks, take a look at it, give us your feedback. And then in parallel, if you're not able to make it to any of these in-person meetings, we have an online public meeting that we're putting together through what's called an ArcGIS story map. So you can log into that anytime on the 18th through March 24th, and that'll be available, and you can kind of walk through the same information at your own pace and give us some feedback out of it. So it's kind of the update we had with that.
Excellent. Any questions for Lindsay? Thank you for that. Countermeasures and discussions about that is always interesting, very revealing. There are things that we think intuitively would make roads safer and make things for pedestrians safer, but it's not always the case, vice versa, right? So that's always interesting. And thank you for making it more accessible with the online option. And by the way, Lindsay, so who's gonna win the Super Bowl on Sunday? The Chiefs,
was I supposed to answer?
Eagle, or Kendrick or Taylor?
I mean, well, Taylor, obviously,
Okay.
but I will follow that up with Keith, your Super Bowl questions aren't usually super applicable because I'm not a big sports ball person.
I know
However, I am going to a Super Bowl party on Sunday, which I think is my first one in like 7 years.
Look at you.
So we're debating if we're gonna stop at Wingstop and pick things up or if we're gonna try to make a dip. It's a very contentious discussion in our household. But yeah, so we'll see.
It's a gathering, but there's gonna be a football game on TV. And what are you gonna have in your hand during that time?
What am I gonna have in my hand? Oh, beverages? I mean, if I can find some Snow Beast, I will be all over that. I don't even remember.
Is that a beer?
Yeah, it's from Kincaider Brewery. So they have, it's like a seasonal release. I don't know if they still have it out right now. They do? Okay, perfect. Well, then that's where I'm going first thing tomorrow. So I will grab some of those and I'll bring those with me.
Very good. I'll allow it without objection. Thank you. Let's keep rolling. Who's talking about the civil rights plan?
Oh, that's also me, but we've got a different slide up.
I'll talk about this one real quick. This is follow-up. In October, we opened up our golf projects. On the Nebraska side, it was transportation alternatives and CRP. On the Iowa side, we had SVG, all funding sources available. We're receiving applications, we're digesting them, and we're getting ready to open up public comment period on those, starting on February 19th. Go to that website. All the projects that were submitted will be open for public comment. We use this comment to help inform transportation funding decisions. So let us know what you think about the projects that came in. We usually do this in tandem, both in our capacity as the MPO, TMA, and also with Regional Planning 18. This year, we did not receive any applications for Regional Planning Association 18, so there won't be a call for public comments on that. So more to come. This is part of the process in developing our transportation improvement program, which is due to the state in July. So very important part of the process. That's it. Any questions? See court.
I threw this one in here too, guys. I'm surprising them with some slides.
Yes.
Some surveys, more surveys.
Yes, we continue to work through our long-range transportation plan, both in the RPA region, which are those yellow counties, and the MPO region. Additional information, we want to hear from you what you think the long-range plan. By long-range, we mean 20, 25 years down into the future. We're thinking about horizon 2050 and beyond. What should the region prioritize? What should the region do, etc. Ongoing works. These are public open comment periods that we're going to try to close near the start of the spring so that we can ingest all that information. Any questions, just go there.
And I know you've probably sent those links out, but maybe send them out again and maybe we'll try to get those out to people. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Civil rights policy update. So I brought the civil rights policy to this group back in December. Quick reminder that this policy update kind of outlines how MAPA implements various laws and federal regulations, specifically those that pertain to discrimination in our programs and procedures. So this includes Title VI, includes limited English proficiency, and it also includes the American with Disabilities Act, as well as the complaint procedures for both Title VI and ADA. So this plan is required by any agency that receives federal funding. And we need to get it updated every 3 years. So this is kind of the combination of our most recent update. So this policy went through the MAPA board in January and was approved. It is due to go through the RPA 18 board next Wednesday. Because MAPA kind of manages both of those jurisdictions, then we kind of use the same policy for both. The webpage needs to be updated with the final plan. It still has the draft on there, but you can find more info on the website if you need it. Can you answer any questions?
Thank you. Any questions on that? Lindsay, the world has changed a bit, it's changing.
Yeah.
Is there any need to take into account recent events to fold into this or no?
So there are a couple changes. The current policy as it's written does have an environmental justice analysis. We left that in. It's going to stay in because it was part of the process of putting this policy together. And MAPA as an agency is very equity focused. We've been given direction by our board to kind of pursue that. So we're going to continue to do that until told otherwise. There are a couple executive orders that are outlined in this policy that have been since revoked. So when we go in the next 3 years to kind of update, then we might need to change some of that language a little bit, but otherwise the policy will stay mostly the same. Title VI, LEP and ADA were not affected by those executive order revocations or changes in those legislations. So those are still pretty foundational for this work.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Let's keep going.
So Mike McIntosh alluded to this. So we did receive $1.5 million for work that was related to that Heartland 2050 Infrastructure Committee subcommittee. I will note, this was supported by the work that we did with Thriving Communities, and that group has presented to RPAC in the past as technical assistance that was awarded to us through USDOT. I will say, so this award came just before the administration changeover and all of the things that you've heard through the executive orders about federal funds being targeted and awards being made and reconsidered. This program is very much in the crosshairs of that. And so we do not have a grant agreement. Funds have not been dispersed. And so we are awaiting more clarification on the status of these funds, in addition to the other project, which I think Carlos highlighted last time, which is the Transformative Regional Investment Prioritization System. Did I get it right that time? Yes.
That's our name for it. The
TRIPS.
federal name for it is like a
Four Ps, and I won't put you through that. But the point there is that, MAPA has been seeking with partners, whether the Chamber of Commerce or NDOT, to really get some of these discretionary funds, and now this kind of review of all those programs is underway. We'll see where we end up, but just knowing, we did receive the funding, we'll see, or we received an award, I should know. We'll see where we go, but we're committed to this work either way. It's just a matter of having the resources to go deep and really kind of put that framework together, but more to come.
And Keith, this is the spot where I thought maybe you wanted to talk about your trip with the Thriving Communities.
Sure, I'll go super fast. I just wanted to take a second to, at the last meeting, I shared that Carlos and Daisy Coyle from Spark and I will be traveling to Washington, DC to the USDOT's Thriving Communities convening. And it was the second year that I had a chance to go, and it's a great conference, and it addresses a lot of things that will help you to augment your Thriving Communities program planning. And our submission was really taking a look at how Highway 75 is divided east and west. And as Mike mentioned, it sort of connects to how the Reconnecting Communities initiative helps to coordinate land use and housing strategies. And there was just a couple things that really struck me. Again, we're there with Jackson and Cleveland and Baltimore and Tacoma and San Antonio and other cities that have similar issues, and then some that aren't quite as similar. They talked about how they will continue to fund the initiative after the administration changed. Again, this was in December, so this is for what we've known since January 20th. And a great meeting. There was something, if you really are into inspirational quotes and messages, or something that one of the mayors from one of the cities said at one of the kind of plenary breakouts. He said the transit. He said, think about transportation as, and sounds real mayory. Mayor's got to say this kind of stuff, Chris. Transportation, think about it as the veins through which opportunities flow. And he was talking about beyond roads and bridges that we actually need, right? We need actual physical infrastructure, but think about how you program and develop and design transit as the veins through which opportunities flow. That was powerful to me because sometimes we don't always think about that as we're planning and talking about where will money be spent and what will be erected as a result of that. So that was good. It was talked about that, in order to counteract out migration in communities, you need jobs, and jobs need industry, and industry needs infrastructure. And so these are cases for the investments that I thought was useful. Thriving Communities was, this last one I'll share, and Carlos, if you have anything that's burning. Thriving Communities is you should think of it as a public statement of a public prioritization of change. So again, the strategies are what they are, but it is designed to be a public statement to invite partners, to invite community to take all the best practices, to take all the data informed stuff, take the Vision Zero and the comp plans and all the things, and publicly say, here's what our investment will be to prioritize change and to promote equity and to develop communities and to think about TOD and all that stuff. So I thought that was good. Carlos.
Yeah, and like bearing the lead, like Keith and I were like talking to the people that were scoring these applications. So, you know, I'll let Keith take all the credit, but we were hobnobbing and helping us be competitive with this. Putting in an actual phase, actual communication of what is going on the ground is always helpful. So thanks to Keith and everyone that participated.
That is very nice. You say,
Do
Carlos.
you have a thriving communities committee, or is it?
Yes, there is. And Vicky, I think you're on it. No, we have a group. In fact, we just did a check-in meeting before this meeting. So there is a group of us that are sort of informing that, and that's some of those partners. That's our consultant to WSP and Accelerator for America. And there's a lot of contributors to this cohort of thriving communities program cities. And so if you're asking where is the entry point for more engagement, in fact, we'll have a next Thursday, the 13th.
Now, I did receive that.
You did? Okay.
I did receive that, but I was thinking, is there another platform that I could maybe consider as well? But we can talk after.
Yes, we have information that we can share. There's a ton of info, and if I'll think about what the best concise summary of what TCP is and what it's meant to do and how all stakeholders contribute, we'll get something like that and send it out to this body. Yeah.
I've just gotten bits and pieces of it, but thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question, Vicky. Any questions about that? I'll stop there. The NDMPO site visit.
I'll just chat about this really quick. So we did a site visit, our Heartland 2050 learning site visit to Indianapolis in April 2022. And we had some people in the room attend with us, which was really great. We worked really heavily with some of the people who are now at the Indy MPO. They're kind of a partner organization. One of our roles is an MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. So they came and brought their staff out to just interact and learn with our staff, as well as check out some of the work that we're doing in the region. So we visited Blackstone with Jay Lund. Thank you, Bruce, for inviting us and hosting us out at the La Vista City Center. And we also got to visit the Highlander development at 75 North. So that was a really great experience. But again, building on that Heartland 2050 work of continuing to connect and network and learn from people in other cities. So we were really pleased to see them again and to kind of provide that reverse site visit experience for them.
That was cool. That was
Kudos to
really
Laura, Christina, and Carlos for actually putting that all together because they nailed it. It was fun.
Yeah,
It was cool. It was long.
I mean, if you like nerdy
It was nerdy
community development stuff like we do. We do have also an elected appointed officials couple trainings coming up. So one is next week in Iowa at Trainer, and then we have our Nebraska one on the 27th. There's a couple QR codes and links there if you'd like to sign up, but really this is just to be learning about holding effective meetings, parliamentary procedures, kind of the legislation around open meetings and Open Records Act, just to kind of support government officials, especially if you're newly appointed or elected. But it is also good information for anybody who might want to be attending meetings or holding their own meetings. It's just a good refresher course, also a great way to network with local officials if you are interested. There is a low $10 fee, but that includes a light dinner because it is a 5 to 8 p.m. training. So again, they are state specific a little bit. So if you attend one or the other, but you might think about where you're doing your work or whatever. For that. So we are working with Iowa State University and Extension and Nebraska Extension on that.
And I'll just say, planning commissioners, parks board officials, anybody who kind of, works through some of this stuff. We see a lot of folks like that get a lot of value out of this, just especially if they're new to the appointment. So it's not just kind of traditional elected officials, but other people working in appointed bodies as well. So if there's folks within your networks of local government that you think would benefit from it, please distribute it. We're always happy to find these resources.
And we're encouraging our staff to attend as well as we hold and run a lot of meetings. So just good information overall. Our annual membership survey is still available. There have been a lot of recent changes, so if you would like to submit a new one talking about what your community priorities and needs are, this really helps us develop our work plan and budget for our upcoming fiscal year. So we just encourage you to tell us what you need and how we can support your work, and then we work on staffing that and budgeting that out. Mike, any other?
No, we've gotten some responses. Oh, we've got about a week more.
Yes, on Valentine's Day. Think about us on Valentine's Day. Make sure you survey it. We do have one position that we are currently hiring, our GIS intern for that. So that position is currently available. We did just have several new staff start. We just hired 3 new people, new planners. So that's exciting. And we've got this one coming up yet. Annual reports are here if you want to look at them or download. Calendar is also here if you want more. We got some upstairs. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, it comes out about every other month electronically. It's great to just keep in touch with what we're doing.
Thank you. There's no reason why we should have questions about where to find out what's going on. Thank you for the team, and I appreciate this comprehensive access to information. What kind of updates do you all have, or what's for the good of the group? What do you want to share about what's coming up?
Vicky, do you have an event tomorrow?
Stay on.
Saturday, oh, yes. I'm already on Sunday with the Super Bowl. I skipped that Saturday. Yes, we have a State of North Omaha that actually it's a part 2. We held our first one back in January, and it's primarily to really invite not only elected officials, but individuals within their specific areas, for instance, whether it's Chief Schmott or whether it's the superintendent of OPS, just really talking about last year, what was their goals, what did they accomplish? And then for this year, what is it that they plan to do and what is it that they'd like to do and how can the community support it? So tomorrow is going to be a part 2, so to speak. We'll have Senator McKinney, we'll have Senator Spivey and a few others that will give an update on what legislative bills that they are working on. And again, really the platform is to provide the community with an opportunity to ask them questions, you know, whether it's before or afterwards. And this is something that we do every time on the second Saturday of the month. So again, this specifically is the State of North Omaha. We have David Droz last month who provided a number of data points, trends in terms of what does North Omaha look like. We know the demographics are changing. We know in terms of home ownership that continues to be a challenge. So again, it's really providing the community with an update in specific areas, whether it's violence prevention, whether it's education, academic achievement, workforce. We have the Step Up Omaha program where this year we're hoping to get about 700 to 800 of our young people, 14 to 21, into different places where they can work, make money over the summer. And we have really shown where when they are working that the numbers of incidents, whether it's homicides, gun assaults or whatnot, has gone down. So we know it works. We started this Step Up Omaha program in 2008. And so we have really been fortunate to have a number of partners that have been work sites where we can put our young people to get that hands-on training and then also expose our 14 and 15-year-olds to a different types of industries because we want them to stay here. We want to get employers to really invest in them so that when they graduate from post-secondary education, that they really want to stay here in Nebraska. So it's really an investment in our young people and workforce. So Saturday, I would encourage you to be there because again, if you're interested in what's happening in North Omaha, where there is a ton of development that's happening, a lot of excitement. And so I would say be in the place. It's going to start at 9 o'clock. At North Omaha Viking Center High School, yes, North Omaha Viking Center, and that will run until noon. So if you're interested in more information, I can provide that to you. Otherwise, you can go to, I believe, empoweromaha.com. Thank you.
Excellent. And that is not have a virtual option tomorrow, correct?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that yet.
Thank you. Questions for Vicky? Is there anything in the comments, Lori? Anything from anybody on Zoom? Thanks, everybody. Thanks for hanging in. Hey, let's get.
We do have to ask for public comment.
Yes,
That's required. Sorry.
Let's get quorum in, what month is this? In April. Okay, let's make sure we do that so we can officially officialize the ratification of the minutes in the business. Are there any comments from the public that you would like to state today or share? I think we have a recipe in the public comments today, but other than that, I think we are good. Thanks, y'all. Motion to adjourn. Anyone opposed? Seeing none? We are adjourned. I'll see you next time.